Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I am your host Hajra Sati and joining me is my wonderful co-host who happens to be Fahim Bangesh. Assalamu alaikum Fahim, how are you doing today?
Wa alaikum assalam, very well Hajra, and a very good morning to you too.
Yes.
And Hajra, I was wondering if you watched the match yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, yes, because we were working over the weekend, I was so tired, so I did not had the opportunity to watch the entire match, but I think, watched the first half of it and then I went to sleep. But the first thing that I do when I wake up is, unfortunately, it's not a good habit and I don't endorse it, but I open up my social media stream and I start looking up for all of the Twitter
You should not be ashamed of it. I think we all do that.
Yes, yes, and I think I did a good, probably it's was a good decision not watching the match because the kind of the result that I was getting in the morning. But having said so, that was just on a lighter note. What matters is the sportsman spirit. That game is designed in a way that one team is going to lose and other is going to win. But the important thing is,
as we always say, may the best team win.
Yes,
so, yeah.
yes. And I think the good thing is that, the thing that we need to learn about from this entire match saga is that we need to learn what are our mistakes and analyze it and then give our best performance. But I think this is something that we need to reflect and ponder upon. But
and Hajra, not just in the game, but also as individuals, we need to look at ourselves where our weaknesses lie. We need to analyze ourselves. We need to work on ourselves. And wherever they are, we need to point them out and really, really work hard on them, because now is the era of competitiveness. Now is the era where you have to go ahead and not stay stagnant, because if you do, it's not going to help you in any way, believe you me. Rather, it's going to make you more stressed out. So, yeah. Anyway, we're going to move forward in our program. Hajra, why don't you introduce our guest?
Right, and Fahim, before we start our program, and I think we have done multitudes of the program that are focusing on the climate change, that are focusing on yes, the changing seasonalities of the nature, how it is affecting us, particularly when we talk about our fight against the climate change. And when we talk about climate change, it's not just limited to the land, right? The effects encompasses every aspect of the human life on this earth. So it's not just the land, it is the oceans also that are also being affected because of these intense human changes. There was a World Ocean Day, and the theme of the World Ocean Day for the 2024 is awakening new depths. And when we talk about awakening new depths, obviously we know that how coral reefs are under threat because of the activity or the pressure of the humans on the ocean. And when we talk about all of these environmental factors, how they're changing, the acidity of the oceans are rising, and how this entire ecosystem is interconnected, we need to explore all of that. And we also need to explore why do we need to observe World Ocean Day, because I think there's lots of wealth that lies under the ocean, and this is something that has also been mentioned in the Quran, right? There's a wealth and there's lots of treasure that is hidden in the ocean. It is us human, it is our responsibility to explore it responsibly and reasonably. To further elaborate over that, we need to particularly introduce our guest. She is joining us from the Karachi. She is going to illuminate and reflect and ponder upon why we observe Ocean Day and what are the intricacies involved in making sure that ocean's health remain well. So we are very glad that we have been joined by Ms. Sobia Imran. She happens to be a research officer at NEMA, National Institute of Maritime Affairs from the Karachi. Assalamu alaikum, Ms. Sobia, and thank you so much for joining us. The vocals, and we obviously are.
Yeah, Hajra, something really interesting that you pointed out here as far as the oceans are concerned, how everything is so connected. We had some technical issue due to which we couldn't hear Ms. Sobia, but yes, Hajra, you were very right. Everything is interconnected. There's so much that has not been discovered by humans as far as the oceans are concerned. I was watching the other day one of the short videos, and they said the way we throw plastic in the rivers, here and there, in the basins, and the way they travel all the way to the oceans, the way a plastic bag looks like and the way a jellyfish looks like, we may be able to identify and differentiate between the two. But a turtle will never be able to differentiate. He's just going to eat it. So many fish, so many turtles, so many species, marine species, they have it, they die, And not just that, now, according to latest research, it has been observed that microplastics are there in each and everything that we are consuming. Now, what does that tell you? That plastic pollution is going haywire in the rest, in all of the globe. And I think Pakistan is not to blame. I think the whole world is to blame here. We often tend to blame the government. The government should do this, the government should do that. But I think the world, here when we talk about climate change, we become citizens of the world. We do not behave and we should not act like citizens of Pakistan. Everybody is equally responsible. Now, I think we have been joined by Ms. Sobia. Ms. Sobia, can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
Welcome to PTV World, Ms. Sobia. It's a pleasure having you here. Ms. Sobia, today is the World's Oceans Day, and Hajra was very beautifully putting everything together. There is a lot of danger as far as the ocean species are concerned. There is a danger as far as the pH level of the oceans is concerned. What would you like to say today on this very special day, since the oceans are being celebrated?
First of all, I would like to thank you, Ms. Hajra, for inviting me to speak on this particular topic. As far as the importance of oceans are concerned, so world celebrate Oceans Day on 8th of June every day. And this serves as a reminder for all of us basically the services that our oceans are providing, and also the urgent need to address the challenges it's facing.
Right, and Ms. Sobia, so we've seen there's a lot of conversations, there's a lot of narrative, there's a lot of rhetoric concerning the blue ocean, and Fahim very beautifully put it out that the dangers the inhabitants of the blue oceans or the blue earth are facing, and we've seen that how the entire ecosystem is interconnected, right? And he also alluded to the fact that there's so much microplastics that it is even in the fetuses, in the wombs of the mother present. And it's not just that, it is also present in the clouds, right? Because this entire system is interconnected. There's evaporation going on from the oceans and it goes into the sky, and then there is a rain happening, right? So what is our responsibility, particularly when we talk about as a human civilization, and at this point in this time when the global warming or it's at the tipping point, right?
So boiling rather, not warming these days.
Yes, global boiling going on. Thank you for so much saying that. So what is our responsibility towards the oceans, and how responsible and vigilant we need to be when it comes to the health of the oceans?
As far as the steps that are need to be taken is concerned, the first responsibility lies on the individual level. As you have mentioned that our oceans has been facing a lot of challenges, out of which microplastic is one of the major issues, along with the climate change. The responsibility, if we talk about, so there are three levels. Number one is the national level, then the regional level, and the individual level. There are a lot of immense anthropogenic activity that is being carried out due to which the plastics are going into the ocean. The very bad thing about plastic is that it is very persistent. It can stay in the environment for hundreds of years without being degraded. So we need to be very vigilant about using it, and we have to adopt such ways so that we can minimize the plastic footprints, I would say, in the environment.
Because when we talk about the World Oceans Day, I think we talk about even the land, because every dump that is being, every garbage piece that is being dumped on land is eventually going to be dumped in the rivers, and then, of course, the oceans, right? So what about our responsibility as citizens? Because, you know, I have observed many people using plastic bags. They're like, okay, yeah, I understand that there is global warming. I understand. But, you know, what harm would one plastic bag do? Okay, maybe let's just use it today, and maybe let's try something else tomorrow. So this behavior, how do you think we need to bring about changes in this sort of behavior?
Okay, it's a very good question, and it is very much needed to be addressed. The responsibility and the steps that we at the individual level that needs to be taken is one. The first step that behavioral changes. I would say that we need to change our behavior towards that, how we perceive the oceans and how we perceive the land and how we perceive the environment. And this is only possible when we disseminate knowledge in the general public. And for that, NEMA is playing its part in celebrating the days, for example, World Oceans Day, World Fisheries Day. And this is our major concern in each and every talk shows or live that we have carried out so far, that what we need to take on board and how to deal with the challenges. For example, if I give you an instance of it, on last year, World Fisheries Day, we have a community engagement with the Fisher Folk Forum, where we have educated people on these topics. For example, the negative effects that plastic is causing, and also the ocean acidification, all that. Basically, the problem with Pakistan is that not many of us are educated in this particular field. So there's a lot of need to address this challenge, especially to the communities who do not have access to the knowledge, who are marginalized, basically. Only that way we can make a change at the bigger level, I would say.
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Sobia, for enlightening us about the responsibilities that we as a human have towards our oceans. And when we talk about the oceans, when we talk about particularly ocean health, it's very much incumbent upon us, because I think one thing that we all do is that we are all looking towards the government or states, that it's their responsibility to protect these oceans, right?
Yes.
And it should not be the case. So you explored the role of NEMA and how they're protecting the blue oceans and the marginalized communities. So Ms. Sobia, tell us about particularly what are the future plans when it comes to the research, and what are some of the latest trends in the research when we talk about the ocean health or celebrating this Ocean Day particularly?
This topic is very new in Pakistan. Not very new, but we can say that we have started taking it seriously maybe 5 years or 10 years back. And not many of us are well aware of the topic, as I have already mentioned. So the first step that is need to solve any problem, I would say, to solve any problems, first we need to identify the problem itself, that what problems we are facing. So unless they are not identified, we cannot be able to find the solutions of it. And fortunately, now the academia and the government are realizing the responsibility towards this particular issue. And we are working very we can say that we are working on SDGs. For example, SDG 13 is there, SDG 14 is there. SDG 13 is basically about the climate change, and 14 basically deals with the life below water. So we are acting on it, and the researches are being carried out towards this particular issues. And I think this is a major change that we have seen so far, and inshallah in the coming years we would be able to find the solutions of it.
Well, we hope for the best. Thank you very much, Ms. Sobia, for coming into our program, for contributing and taking out time for us. That was Ms. Sobia from National Institute of Maritime Affairs. We have a very important and interesting discussion lined up for you, but don't go anywhere. We have a little break, so we will be right back, and stay with us. Stay tuned to BTV World for more.
Welcome back, and before going on to the break, we were exploring the Ocean Day and what does the climatic changes has on the oceans. And when we explore the very intriguing trends of the climate change, obviously it's not just restricted to the oceans, it is also diffusing towards the human body particularly. And when we talk about exploring the effects of that too on the skin, we will develop this conversation in this particular segment. But before that, we need to introduce our guest, and without further monopolizing our conversation, we are very glad that we have been joined by Professor Dr. Johariya Azhar Saiba. She happens to be the Vice Principal of Abbottabad Institute of the Medical College. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saiba, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Ji, walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure that you've joined us here today. Now, Dr. Johariya, I would like you to explain to us, we know, but our viewers exactly, because you are a professor as far as dentistry is concerned, then you also deal with pain management. Could you go into the depth and detail of exactly what that is all about?
Well, actually, I'm always interested in rather diversified fields, you can say that.
Right, right.
So basically, I started off as a dentist and then I went on to pursue oral pathology because I like getting into the depth of things, and pathology is the depth of every subject in the medical sciences. Okay. So I became a professor in oral pathology, and then I got interested in treating those pathologies. And one of the best ways of treating these pathologies is use of lasers. It's a very natural way of treating. You can say it is a natural and organic molecular medicine. Right. So then I did my post-graduation. My fellowship is from Germany in the field of lasers. Now when I came back laced up with my lasers, I wanted to treat pathologies, but around 80% of the patients that were coming to me were for aesthetics.
Right.
So then, by default, I had to then pursue aesthetics as a, as a side speciality. And then I did my, fellowship in aesthetics as well, facial aesthetics.
Right.
I'm in fact the only level 7 degree holder in facial aesthetics in Pakistan. It's a level 7 of UK degree.
Right. I see, that's lovely. That's because, when it comes to laser, usually what people have in mind is, skin or perhaps the eyes. But now I think it has, this field has gone really vast even in Pakistan.
Yes. Actually, I introduced the laser surgeries back in 2012 and 13.
Right.
Obviously, a few people were practicing at that time. With laser surgery, when you're cutting a tissue, there's no bleeding and there's very less pain. So the amount of anesthesia that we are giving a normal patient with the scalpel surgery, it reduces 10 folds. Okay. You can say around 20 folds maybe.
Right, right.
So very little anesthesia is required. There's no pain, painless surgeries. Right. So now even cardiologists are employing lasers in their surgeries.
Really?
Yeah, and almost every field, gastroenterologists, etc.
Right, and I think we've seen this rising trend, particularly when we talk about the aesthetics and aestheticians employing, but Dr. Joharia, we've seen with all of these celebrities who employ all of these, the beauty enhancing surgeries, and you are the expert in the field, so enlighten us about it. But we have also seen that how those surgeries have gone bad, right? So we have seen the effects of that surgery. Not beautifying their facial features at all, right? So what goes wrong when we talk about this surgery, and why is there a rising trend in aesthetics? Why do you feel we are so uncomfortable the way we look with our skins, and there's a race, of going and doing all of these surgeries to enhance our features?
Achha, these are many questions all in one statement. Let me start from the last one that you just mentioned. You said we are dissatisfied. Actually, there is a Fibonacci code in the world. This is a code, a ratio that is naturally occurring in the world, and it's everywhere. The pyramids were made according to it.
Okay.
The rose is made according to it. It's naturally occurring in the, now that ratio when you apply it on the face, the thing is every face which is according to the Fibonacci code looks pleasant. Okay. And where the code is a bit altered, the face is not that attractive. So this is how we define actually beauty. And otherwise we say that beauty is contextual as well. One man's beautiful is another man's ugly. We can say that. Yeah, yes, it's very contextual as well. But the Fibonacci code is present in Journal in Nature, and that's why we apply it on the faces as well. So some faces, like for example, the eyes could be very widely aligned or placed on the face naturally, or very narrow faces. So they actually bypass the limits of this code.
Right.
So that is the case when the people want interventions. Secondly, beauty is not all about changing your face. It's about anti-aging and, aging gracefully. Right. So the age-related changes, once you start crossing over in your 40s, you start dissatisfied, start getting dissatisfaction from the way your face is changing, from the way your muscles are changing. So this is where, then the anti-aging and aesthetic medicine comes into play.
And thirdly, please.
Thirdly, with lasers, the laser applications on the skin are so awesome that you don't need to perform a surgery. Why these procedures are so much famous is because they are non-invasive. You're not cutting or entering into anything. your skin is intact, but the underlying tissues on the face or all over the body, they are being targeted. For example, you know, there are the slimming and sculpting laser devices.
Right.
They target fat cells without affecting the skin. So you don't actually need to perform a surgery in order to do laser aesthetic procedures. Skin remains intact. That is the beauty of it.
But one thing that Hajra also asked, which I'm also really interested to know, what about when the surgery goes wrong?
Oh, yes.
Well, the surgery, when the surgery goes wrong, then there are alternates that can be offered. It actually depends on what has gone wrong. You know, there are certain documented side effects or complications that can happen after a procedure, and we always tell the patients, you know, there are two methods of two factors of treatment. Factor number one is what we are doing. Factor number two is how the body is responding.
True.
You know, they are very different. Human physiology is so different that one patient responds in a different way while the other patient responds in a totally different way. For example, one patient is very good results with one treatment, the other would be needing, you know, around 10 treatments.
Is it somewhat similar to when we give a test dosage of a particular antibiotic or a particular medicine that we're giving to a patient to see whether he or she is responding in a reactive way or not?
Yeah, mostly with the immunological disorders, that's what. Not with infectious disorders, sometimes with infectious disorders as well. But basically with the immunological disorders or flu, like some people had very mild COVID symptoms, while others, you know, died because of COVID. So it's very different. So complications and treatment, dealing with the complications actually depends on what kind of a complication has happened, where has it happened, and what can be done. So there are always steps that can be taken, mostly.
Also, is it for example, the person who has gone through it, a bad surgery, they would say, okay, my face has been damaged. Is it irreparable, irreversible?
No, unless a major plastic surgery procedure has gone wrong, it's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's not irreversible. Like, for example, people are really getting fillers these days.
Yes, yes.
If you have gotten Botox and your one eyebrow is higher than the other.
Exactly, exactly.
Then you'll have to wait for around 3 to 5 months for the Botox effects to actually subside. There's no way of reversing that. But if, let's say, you had a filler, like these days, I won't name the city, but a lot of people are coming over there with very bulging, you know, cheeks. They're putting in a lot of filler on the cheeks. So if that has happened, we can always dissolve the fillers.
Okay.
I see.
And
so it can be done, but provided you intervene as early as possible and, you know, tell the patient.
And provided you have friends giving you very honest feedback.
Yes, and I think you also need to go to a good consultant or a good doctor for that matter, because when we talk about our facial features, this is something that are very spot on, right? The first thing that goes when you're looking at someone is your facial features, right? So, Dr. Saibullah, let's explore the rise of the tech-savvy smiles, right? And how there are surgeries that enhance our smile. What are the side effects of that? And if a patient comes to you to improve a smile, what sort of suggestions would you roll out to that person?
Well, actually, the smile, when you're talking about smile, there are two places on the face that you're talking about: the whole face, the musculature, and the teeth. So the thing is, we offer this dual approach. We treat the teeth as well, and then, you know, the surrounding structures, the nasolabial folds, the marionette lines, and all that. But the beauty with laser-based devices is that we are not actually doing anything. I mean, surgically. You know, so it's a very organic way. Contouring of the face using lasers is again a very organic way. There's nothing which is going inside the face. It's just the laser which is changing the structure of the face, of the muscle. And then, you know, since it's organic, it's body friendly. So body takes over it. So it's not very apparent, it's very subtle effect and very nice. When you're putting in fillers, then that can actually change the shape of the face. And you know, when you come across some people and you say they've done something on their face, like too much fillers or too much Botox, but then there is subtle changes that someone is aging very gracefully, and you say, you look very young, you don't look like 60 degrees, not that, like 60 years old, you look very young. This is a successful aesthetic treatment outcome.
Right.
Lovely,
and I think, so moving on our conversation from aesthetics into the effects of the climate change, and particularly on the skin. So we've seen that there's a scorching heat outside, and the skin, and that affects skins differently for every other person, right? So in this climate, particularly when we talk about the heat wave, what sort of advices would you like to roll out to the people who are going outside, and how to protect your skin, because it is the largest organ of the body, right? And it's our utmost responsibility to take care of that, because this is the amanat of Allah to us, right? So what are the advices that you would like to give? And let's explore the effects of climate change on the skin.
Climate change affects whole body, like starting from the, you can say skin, but if you come on to the general health, then starting from respiratory system, it affects respiratory system, from cancer to other, you know, disorders, then cardiopulmonary diseases, cardiac diseases, fast aging, and then, you know, pest related infective disorders, they also become very rampant when you have this. Now coming on to the skin, it enhances aging, it causes a number of conditions to worsen, like for example a lot of acne. Then dermatitis, different types of dermatitis get activated with sun exposure. UV related, you know, discoloration, melasma, there is a whole long list of conditions that you can have because of all this. So how we can avoid these is, you know, prevention is better than cure. First of all, it's good to have yearly visits for your skins. Now, you know, we are introducing AI related devices which can predict what kind of a damage your skin is suffering and what kind of things are bound to appear in, let's say, 5 months or 6 months. Yeah.
I see.
So how many pores are closed, what are the chances of developing acne, because, you know, skin is on the surface. Under this light we do not see anything, but there are devices, laser based devices, when we put them onto the skin, it shows us the tissues under the skin, and that tissue has already started undergoing the change that would appear on the skin later. So this is how we are doing cancer screening. Even we have devices that can diagnose cancer even before it appears onto the skin or onto the mucosa. So that's what we do. And, you know, I say SPF 50 and more in all your products. This is the first rule. Whenever you step out of the house, just put on something with SPF 50
or
not
more.
25. Yeah, 50 or more. That's a minimum now. And keep on hydrating yourself. So, you know, around 10 to 12 glasses of water, because water also nullifies the effect of the heat, and we are having a heat wave these days here. Then keep yourself covered. Do not expose yourself directly to the sunlight, because our skins are very sensitive to it.
Right. Also, now you did speak about in the beginning of the program about oral pathology, right? How you were interested in that. Now, when we talk about different oral diseases, different abnormalities in the mouth, are they also being treated with laser? For example, a carcinoma, for that matter.
Of course. Carcinoma surgeries we can do with laser, cancer surgeries and diagnosis. But there are certain other things which cannot be, which before the advent of lasers we could not do anything, but now it has given us a very, very good alternative. The only problem is the price tag that is associated with it. Like for example, lichen planus. Lichen planus in a patient who without which we are treating traditionally, the patient can have, you know, a very bad time. But if you have a lasers in your armamentarium, it becomes very easy to treat them. Then, you know, there are painful conditions like neuralgia, especially trigeminal neuralgia. Neuralgia means a pain along a nerve course. This is an extreme kind of pain you can't even imagine. I've seen the patients, and these patients, they have their whole lives revolving just around treatment of the pain.
No painkiller works in neuralgia. Yes.
Right, and I think we need to also explore, because of the paucity of the time, a good oral hygiene, Dr. Saiba. So as someone who's expert in the field, what sort of recommendations would you give? Walk us through a good oral hygiene routine in a day.
Brush twice daily, and in the morning and at night. That we keep on emphasizing. And again, I would suggest to go on at least 6 monthly or 1 yearly visit to have. Pakistanis are, we really neglect the prevention part of our health. And the whole world is moving towards prevention, because if you move on to prevention, you can actually stop the disease before it happens.
Also, flossing is something which is heavily ignored in our part of the world. How important do you think that is?
Extremely important, because floss goes to the places where your brush cannot go. As simple as that. So I suggest flossing your teeth after every meal. And it has become so easy, and now there are toothpicks available with the floss there. So all you can do is after every meal, just go for 2 minutes into the bathroom, stand in front of the mirror, floss your teeth and come out.
Also, one thing that's heavily ignored in our part of the world is getting, like you said, the checkups, and also the scaling and the cleaning done by the dentist.
Yeah.
That's not very common. Not everybody goes there because they say, no, I mean, what's the use? I mean, I'm cleaning my teeth anyway.
Yeah. Then I explained to them that you know what calculus is, which we remove with the scaler. Calculus is calcified bacteria. So you're actually roaming around with a layer of calcified bacteria in your mouth. Everything you're eating gets in touch with that bacteria, takes it along with it to the stomach.
Right.
So now very recently, not recently, when this is old news, these gum diseases have been associated with heart diseases and diabetes. So
Really?
so people who roam around with heavy loads of calculus in their mouth end up getting diabetes and heart diseases.
Oh my God.
It's
Yeah.
all interlinked, right?
Yeah, it is. It is obviously, if this is bacteria and it's a toxic bacteria, it's calcified, it's in your oral cavity, whichever you're taking inside is being rubbed against it, and then it's going inside.
So,
So it
then
gets
that
absorbed.
must be destroying and harming your tongue and your gums and causing gum
Stomach,
diseases.
and then from the stomach it goes into the bloodstream as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so it goes to whole of the body. That's why, you know, diabetes and insulin resistance and cardiovascular disorders, atherosclerotic diseases in which the arteries, they become
get
small and
constricted,
small.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So all this is related to your oral cavity. And then there is a latest research that nitrous oxide, have you heard of nitrous oxide? The happy gas that we give.
No, I haven't.
Nitrous
Yeah.
oxide is the, you know, the gaseous
Yeah,
anesthesia
nitrous
that
oxide.
we
Yes,
give.
yes, yes, yes,
All
yes.
right.
When you start laughing uncontrollably, that's a heavy dose of nitrous oxide that you're giving.
Right.
I
Nitrous
see.
oxide is released in the body naturally. We used to give it to cardiovascular diseases patients. Angina patients, if you've heard, they are asked to keep a tablet under the
Yes,
tongue.
Under
yes,
tongue,
yes.
yes.
And it controls the chest pain immediately. That's
Yes.
nitrous oxide that's being released from that,
Okay.
Right.
that
The
medicine.
tablet, yes.
Now, nitrous oxide is released in the body. God made it that way. Allah made it that way, naturally. But there is a certain kind of bacteria in the oral cavity that is necessary to
Right.
produce that nitrous oxide.
Right, right.
However, if we kill that bacteria because of imbalance in our diet and our hygiene, then the nitrous oxide is stopped being produced from the body, and many painful conditions and heart disorders then spring up. And this is what is happening. Our natural nitrous oxide reserves are really diminishing. That's why we have to
Right.
rely more and more on the outer.
Right,
you know,
and
these
No,
things.
it's so interesting, you know,
Right.
like we were mentioning in the beginning, the climate change and how everything is interlinked as far as the ecosystem is concerned. I think the body has an ecosystem of its own, how
yes.
everything is interlinked. And I think we had a beautiful and informative discussion with you, Dr. Saiba. I
Thank
mean,
you so
thank you
much.
so much. We're a
welcome.
bit pressed of time here,
Thank
but
you
I
so
would have
much.
loved to go on and on
It's all right.
because you are a very knowledgeable person. You gave me a lot of knowledge today. So thank you very much
Thank
for
you
being
so much.
here.
Thank you
Yes.
so much for
And
having
with
me.
that, we are wrapping up our show. And until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and
And
good
good morning.
morning.